Welcome to episode 46 of TerrorVision Horror Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Dan McGuinness, and joining me on the Midnight Meat Train is my co-host, Jennifer the Dream Smasher Tran. Strand. It's because I put that new Smasher in and it put me off.
That's fine.
Every week we take one horror movie and cut it to pieces with our internet words of fury. Together we are two people with a love of horror and feel the burn of our obsolete Blockbuster / Movieland memberships. I'd just like to thank all of our listeners who support us over on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Castbox, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, and the YouTube. We love you, etc., etc., etc. Shout out to all the people that interact with us and help us out over on the, on the interwebs and help us grow. People like Adam Gillespie, Bryn Phillips, Sarah Sullivan, Dion Cracknell, Shano
Shano McIntyre.
That got me. And thank you to all of our mums for liking every post we do and never listening to our show.
Yeah.
What fun facts? Do your fun fact this week, Jen.
All right.
Because I'm going to just coattail on that shit.
Rad my coattails. That's fine because I actually didn't have a fun fact this week. So I just thought I'd throw out the fact that my favourite Ninja Turtle is Donatello.
Please explain.
I don't know why. He's purple, he's got a bow staff, and he does machines. He's kind of like the smart, sarcastic one that's kind of in the background but kind of does everything.
Kind of without him, they would be fucked as well.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have a car.
Yeah, so without him, they would be fucked. But also, he's not really a prominent
Like, you could
character.
take Michelangelo out of the mix and then they'd be fine.
Yeah.
And Raphael.
Yeah.
And Leonardo. Actually, yeah. Well, Donatello is often people's favourites because he was the best one in the arcade game because he had the longest reach and his double button hit was like a jumping hit and it could just get shit from heaps far away.
Okay.
And he was probably the only character you could actually finish the game with, kinda. My favourite Ninja Turtle. I'm the everyman. I like Raphael.
Yeah.
Purely because in the comics, and I'm not talking about the Eastman comics, I'm talking about like the Ninja Turtle Adventures comics that were at my that are based on the cartoon series.
Yep.
He's kind of the only turtle I feel that's ever had like story. Like, and he has that vibe of he goes off, he has his friend Casey Jones, that's all him, he goes out, he gets angry. Even in the Ninja Turtle live action film, like it's about him like a lot of the film. And then and in the comics, he became an intergalactic wrestler, and he wore this like it was almost like the Venom suit. It was so he was a pure black Ninja Turtle for a while, and he kept that on for a long time. Nothing. It was just black.
Yeah.
Like, and his eyes and stuff like that. Pretty cool. Like
that is cool.
and like it just seems like all the story hits always revolved around Raphael to me, and he's cool but crude.
Well, yeah, everyone wants to be because he's like the angry guy. And
as I said, he's the only one with any depth.
He's the badass.
Yeah, he's the only one with any emotion.
Yeah. But they could give all the others more, but they just focus on him.
Yeah.
He's
they gave like Leonardo had the brooding thing of the the weight of the group being the leader. Not if you take the Turtle Power song in consideration, which said Raphael was the leader for some reason.
Yeah.
Transformed from the norm by the nuclear goop.
Oh, you know your stuff. Have you seen the new arcade game that's been announced?
I have. Yeah. Basically.
It was literally all over my Facebook feed.
Yeah, like I'm actually quite disappointed in the look of it. For how good games are looking these days, these remakes like the Wonder Boy games that have come out and how good they looked.
They did look good.
With a direct comparison to like the Super Nintendo one, I actually think the Super Nintendo one looked a bit better. Like it's weird. Like I think the turtles are a bit too small, and like they're not as like you can do so much good animation with that video games these days. I feel they should have gone a bit better on the animation. But anyhow, it might be great. Like, I'm still gonna play it.
Oh yeah, that's probably one that it'll be the one game that I play this year or whenever it comes out.
So a fun fact is this week is you like Donatello and I like Raphael. I'm actually reading the redo of them at the moment, the comics. So we have obviously the original Ninja Turtle comics done by Kevin Eastman, and he's come back recently over the last bunch of years, like 6-7 years. And he's restarted it from scratch and rebooted it and just told the story again. Yeah. But with more modern story writing and kind of like make more stuff make sense, if you know what I mean. Like April O'Neil, bits and pieces that were kind of like in the original, just changing it around and just making it a better story, basically. It's really cool. Very, very good. It's still going. It's called Ninja Turtles Ongoing. If anyone wants to order it from Greenlight Comics.
No.
They did these beautiful hardcover versions of it. There's about I think 11 hardcovers, like big.
Shit.
They're big as well. Like,
Yeah.
they're oversized. They're like, you know.
It's good. They look good in the bookshelf.
They do.
Yeah.
They look like a great thing. And now let's move on to our spoiler cars. Yes, every week Jennifer and I set ourselves a horror movie to watch. Then we go through it scene by scene and spoil the fuck out of it. It's the whole premise of the podcast. It's a deep dive into glorious gore, hard edits, cheesy acting, directing madness, severed wangs, and compound fractures. We rate each movie every week, so you know, you're not just left in the dark holding your ding-a-ling.
Yep. No, and we rate them not like anyone else. We have our own rating system.
We
So,
do.
as follows, we've got the A, awesome, everybody should watch. B is our beer and chicken wing group movie. F is for fun and dumb. C is a classic that's worth a watch. U is underrated. G is good for its time but is not held up. We've got the J Gen special, the D Dan special. We've got a W, whatever, so off my radar. Kesha, which is a low-budget hot mess. And the cream of the crap, the McConaughey.
Boom, boom, boom.
The fucking fucked, the do not watch. We watched it for you, so you don't have to.
My wife actually only worked out that our worst thing is called McConaughey because of that film the other day. She was overhearing this podcast and she just thought we hated McConaughey.
Oh, no.
No.
I have no strong feelings one way or another towards him.
I actually think he's pretty good. That True Detective that he did was crazy good. But yeah, it was just that film that he was in and he just had the worst monologue in the world.
He wasn't just chewing the seams, he was humping them.
He was humping them. He was stuffing them up his like urethra. He was like doing it all for the good.
He was going hard.
What is this? Oh, what film? What film are we watching? We are watching Bad Taste.
Yes.
From 1987. This is one of my favorite, and Jen had not watched this.
No, I hadn't. It was one of those that I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty certain I've seen that. It's just one that, because the cover is just so prominent. You know the cover.
But also it's not very horror, the cover. It
No.
actually looks like it could be just a wacky kind of
Like-
Doctor Who-y vibe. Like,
Yeah, or even a very sort of 1980s, 1990s MTV kind of action movie.
yeah, so
Like-
it for horror people it might put them off, but I'm glad I watched this back in the day. This basically set the scene for me as a young kid. I made horror films. I
Yeah.
did stuff nowhere near on this scale.
Yeah.
This is like you're home on the weekend making a film, and he just took that idea to the next level. And he
Oh,
made a
yes.
very coherent film. Like,
He did. So let's just give some details. So
about who he is that I'm talking about.
So he's written and directed by Peter Jackson.
Funded.
And also funded. So Peter Jackson, if you don't know who he is by now, like he did Lord of the Rings.
You heard of that film?
Yeah,
Little franchise?
little indie film.
He also
called
did
Lord
one
of
of
the
our other
Rings.
favourite films, Brain Dead.
Yes. So it stars pretty much his friends. He's in it. He plays a couple of characters. Then there's Terry Potter, Peter O'Hearn, Craig Smith. You don't know them.
Because no one does. They're just his mates. And oh my God, are they 1980s dudes? They all look like, one of them, like Ozzy, looks like Jimmy Barnes.
One of them looks like a Hallie Joel Osment.
Yeah. And one of them is just like a normal dude that wears a parka.
Yeah, he's just like, yeah, but I'm really cold, so I'm not going to have my parka. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm
this
really
film-
cold. And of course, it's New Zealand.
Yeah.
It has the accents.
Oh,
and,
yes.
And this is the spot on New Zealand, like that humour that, you know, you got from Foot Rot Flats. You've got like Brain Dead. This it's almost like New Zealand humour is a delivery of lines of how
Yes.
they deliver them. They know their accent's wicked.
Yes, they do.
And they just say stuff amazing. And we're going to break into in and out of New Zealand accent the whole way through this.
And it's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
So the budget for this film was $25,000. I couldn't find any information for what the return was.
I think it was zero.
Yeah, probably.
Nah.
But we do have some fun facts.
Oh
for
man,
you.
there's so many facts that are
So
fun,
many
actual
facts.
fun around this film. So
Yeah.
this is just purely. Yeah, you go.
Yeah, okay. So the movie was banned in Queensland because everything's banned in Queensland. It was banned until the early 90s when the Queensland Censorship Board was disbanded. So if we already know one of many
Just
things...
got rid of the whole censorship board.
Yeah, because I think they found out that people on the board were just like...
Dickheads.
Yeah, essentially.
Fucking galahs,
because
mate.
we know that several films that we've covered on this show have been banned in Queensland. One of them being Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Which is the best. What are they doing?
I don't know. And there was another one that I can't remember right now. Peter Jackson shot this film on weekends, purely on weekends, over a 4-year period with friends playing the lead roles.
Oh my God. So if we work that out, a $25,000 budget split over 4 years, split over 52 is like $480 a week they spent on it. That's basically, for a poor man, that's like your whole wage.
That's
especially
a wage.
In 87. That's more than a wage.
Yeah.
He must have had some money. Well, he got sponsored by it.
Yeah, so in the end, so he fully funded this film, and until the end, towards the end, the New Zealand Film Commission gave him money to finish the project, because he'd like approached them with what he'd already produced, and they're like, "Oh, you did that with no money? Well, here's some money, make it better."
And I guess that went into all the miniatures and stuff and explosions at the end.
Yeah.
And the squibs.
And it's also...
So many squibs.
Oh, so many squibs. What I also love about this film was there is no script. He did not approach this film with a fully comprehensive script. He kind of made it up. So each week he'd
write what they were going to do.
They'd film it on the weekends.
It's amazing. That's such a good vibe. And that is exactly how we used to make our little horror films. Have you ever seen my horror films?
I've seen one of them.
They are that. Yeah. They don't have endings in my films either because we just never finish them. They just stop.
No, that's fine.
Well, it always ends with every main character dying and then that's just the end.
It's so gloomy. Peter Jackson made all of the masks in the mother's kitchen. In his mother's kitchen. So
the latex masks.
Yeah, so all the alien masks, they're all sort of bent in this backward shape because they wouldn't fit in the oven otherwise. So
Oh my God, so good. I didn't even know that half the stuff.
Doug Wren, who plays the leader,
Lord Crumb, he actually died during post-production, and because the film was originally shot silently, kind of like a Super 8 or Super 16 or whatever it was. Yeah,
they just brought some other person in.
It was just his camera, wasn't it? It was just Peter Jackson's home camera they showed.
And he actually spent, I think it was like $15 or $20 to make a Steadicam. Like, he made a Steadicam himself.
Yeah, why wouldn't you?
Well, why not? Yeah. So the voice of Lord Crumb was dubbed by a different actor.
No.
It's insane. There is so much information regarding this film. All the dialogue in the film was dubbed in post-production. So for 2 reasons. Part of the footage had no sound, as we just said. And once the New Zealand Film Commission funded the remainder of the film, Jackson was able to hire a sound camera. Oh, but no one knew how to use it. So they just...
I love that.
Yeah. So a lot of
we got a sound camera, guys. How do we use it? I don't know.
So none of it was usable. They had to dub it anyway. And this one is one of my favourite little facts. Craig Smith, who played Giles, a.k.a. who I've referred to throughout this whole film as Blue Car Guy.
I refer to him as the Collector.
Yeah.
Because he's like a religious collector.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
He was part of the original cast, but he was also married and divorced within the 4-year time frame it took to make this film. So because most of the filming took place on weekends, he was written out because his new wife, who was a devout Christian, objected to him working on Sundays. He was then written back into the film after he got a divorce.
I bet like, yeah, he's divorced. Yeah, get him back in.
Finally.
Oh my God. What's its tagline and its synoppo? Man, that's a long synoppo. That's basically the whole film, eh?
It is.
But I think you actually need it because like a lot of this film is confusing.
Yes. So one thing about the alien,
This is the synopsis.
God. This is the synopsis. One thing the aliens hadn't counted on was Derek, and Derek's don't run. A team from the intergalactic fast food chain Crumb's Crunchy Delights descends on Earth, planning to make human flesh the new taste sensation after they wipe out the New Zealand town of... How do you pronounce this?
Kahoro.
The country's Astro Investigation and Defense Service is called in to deal with the problem. Things are complicated due to Giles, an aid worker who comes the same day to collect change from the residents. He is captured by the aliens and oh God.
He's captured by the aliens and what's their acronym? AIDS?
It's AIDS. AIDS. stages a rescue mission that quickly becomes an all-out assault on the aliens' headquarters.
The end. That's the actual story.
That is the whole film, guys. Okay, so thank you. We have been TerrorVision Horror Podcast.
Yeah. I just copy and pasted your notes for the first half of this film because I was like testing it out to see if I had to write notes, and then I realised I did. So you can start because they're your notes. Mm-hmm. So the opening of the film.
Okay, so it very straight out. First thing I noticed was it had a very similar soundtrack to Dead Alive.
Or Brain Dead.
Brain Dead, yep.
Do you reckon that's because Peter Jackson just does the music?
I think so.
He's fully into music, if I remember, as well. Like, yeah. So, yeah.
He's into everything.
Yeah.
So we get this very sort of music that sounds very similar. We get a phone call to police being played back on a recorder. So we're in this just this sort of dark, ominous room.
Yeah, it's kind of like
empty.
you can't see any people.
No.
It's just this recorder playing this like thing.
Yeah, and there's like a recording. It's like, oh, there's a white light in the sky, and invaders killing people, and you got to send someone, send this, do this, help, and is immediately killed. Like you can hear him being killed
on the recording. Yeah.
Yep. So it's being played back by a mysteriously silhouetted man. With strange fingers.
He doesn't even have a finger.
No,
He has a stick.
That's right. So he has strange fingers, i.e. he has a literal pointing finger on a stick and hand finger candles.
Yeah, so he presses the buttons of his computer with a stick which has a finger on the end. Which is totally just like ridiculous Peter Jackson ridiculousness. They're like, how can we make this guy weird?
Yeah.
And we still can't see him. He's like Dr. Claw kind of thing.
Yes, very much so. And he's now on the phone to the minister, I'm guessing the minister of New Zealand. And he's basically, again, so the minister's like, okay, well, we need to send in the National Guard. We need to send anyone who is willing to show up. We've got to sort this out. This mysterious silhouetted man hangs up and he decides,
Nope,
that might be a bit too showy. And he's like,
this is a job for real men, he says. And he uses his finger pressing button stick to press his speed dial on his phone, which just says the boys. The boys. Call the boys in. I actually refer to them as the boys at when they're in a group in my thing as well. Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, makes sense. But it did make me think of the TV show The Boys, which I'm like, yeah, same vibe.
That's right. So now we cut to this is a great
it's a hard cut
because it's like it cuts to a telephone wire. Just out in the middle of nowhere with a telephone receiver.
Just hanging off of it?
Hanging off of it? Like, no, okay, yeah. So that's how they're called the boys, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
Someone's up there like, okay, boys. It's a very small looking neighborhood, sort of tucked between the hills of New Zealand. It's very pretty. It's like it's a small sort of fishing town, if you will. Very nice.
Very small, yeah.
You'd buy on
the cliffs of New Zealand. Like a town on the very tall cliffs.
Yep. And there is a man standing in the middle of the road.
And we are introduced to our first character.
Barry. And he looks like Hallie Joel Osment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can imagine the big trucker Mo.
Yes.
And he's just kind of like a disheveled gentleman. It's like he's kind of like, his attitude is like, oh man,
It's just like...
So he's there, and everyone in this film, there's a lot of walkie-talkies.
Yes.
There's a lot of talking between walkie-talkies. So he's on the walkie-talkie, and he's talking to someone. We don't know who it is. And this is where you first get access to the massive New Zealand accents. Yeah. Oh my God, it's so good. And because, because it's just so good. Yeah.
So he's standing there, and he's kind of looking around a little bit, and he's holding a flyer or some kind of business card, and he's kind of just like, and on it says BREAD, Beneficial Relief and Emergency Aid Division. So I don't know what that is. We don't know what that is.
No. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, comes this guy walking towards him very slowly. He has an axe. He has a blue shirt and just blue jeans and a bad wig. He looks like Barjo. If you can imagine Barjo, this actor.
Pretty much.
And he's just walking towards him slowly.
He's like, okay, so now we're in a zombie film.
Yeah,
sure.
so he's kind of a zombie. He's got the zombie vibe to him. He's like kind of that shuffling
meandering,
walk.
He's got an axe and
Barry's talking on the walkie-talkie to this other voice going like, and he's like, "There's one of these guys here, mate." And he goes, "Oh, you have to run away." They're just and he's not even running because the guy's walking so slow. He's just kind of like briskly walking.
Yeah, he's just like turns foot and walks in the other direction. It's fine.
Puts a bit of distance between, Barry gets a bit of distance between him and the axe guy. or the blue shirt axe guy, he turns around and he pulls out this giant revolver.
Yep.
And the first time he pulls it out, he holds it up, and the voice on the walkie-talkie goes, "I thought you were left-handed." Yeah. And he changes hands, like it's almost like.
Just the very small little things in this is fantastic as well. So the mate on the radio, he's like, "Look, I can see you." So he's in. We're trying to look around and be like, okay, where is this other guy located? So he's got to be somewhere up on the mountain because he can see Barry.
Yeah.
Barry's made his way through the scrub. He's now walking along the beach, the shorefront, still being followed by this white-wigged man.
Yeah, so this is all happening on the beachfront now.
Barry he turns and he looks at the guy and he's just like, "Stop. This is definitely your last chance." He's just like, "Okay, mate." So the wig man just keeps following Barry and he turns and he
shoots
that's
twice.
when he shoots.
He shoots twice and both of his shots hit the axe head. And then the voice on the radio is like, "Nah, a headshot's the only true stopper." Yeah. And then Barry takes aim and he blows the top of this guy's head off. And this is where this is your first see a shot of violence in this film, and you're like, whoa.
This
and
is
it actually
sick.
So you see like a splat of actual brain.
Yes.
I'm sure it's lamb's brains smash onto the rocks on the shore. Then there's a shot of the actual head.
Yep.
Like the whole body shot of the top of his head with his mouth and his gore and all the blood splurting out the top of his head. Blood splurting, like pouring out of the mouth.
This looks amazing, and he's still
walking towards him.
Stumbles, takes a couple of more stumbling steps towards Barry before he falls down, like pretty much just dead at his feet.
Well, he basically falls down and then drags the stump of his head down Barry's trousers, and then hits his foot, and all his brains fall out of his head and that. And this cuts to Barry, and Barry's just like, like so
he's
upset
just so bummed out.
He's got blood on his pants.
It's like, I just got these. So we see Barry now through binoculars, and we finally see the man on the other end of the radio. He also kind of looks like he's got a wad of cum dripping off of his face.
No, it's just he's just drooling.
It's a little bit drooly, but yeah, I don't know. And then we get this very blink and you miss it title screen, bad taste.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
But first, the guy who's the drooling guy who's looking at him, who is the character named Derek.
Yes.
He just goes, he looks like, what's just happened. He's drooling over what's happened. He puts down these binoculars. He goes, "Oh, glad I'm not the poor bastard that has to clean that up." And then it cuts to the title.
I apologise, yes. So it's over this idyllic, very country road, and there is a blue car driving past. It's just...
It's a very old school blue car.
Yeah, it's not quite a Volkswagen, but,
It's like a New Zealand Volkswagen or
yeah.
something.
And we get this goateed man who we discover is the collector. He is checking a map.
This is a new character, by the way.
Yes, we introduced to a new character. He's looking at a map and checking a notepad with a list of towns. All of the towns are crossed off except the one, Kahoro. Whatever. So it looks like that's where he's heading.
Yeah. So there's this new character heading towards the town they're at. Then we cut back to Barry.
Yeah.
And he's talking to Derek on the walkie-talkie, and Derek's like, "Put some of them brains into a bag for until we can analyse it back in the lab." And then Barry's like, "No bloody way, mate."
So Barry's dumping him in the bushes because he's obviously it's not in his job description to bring the specimens.
Shit. And he goes, and then Derek's like, "Oh well, at least we got one live specimen." and then it cuts to a shot of a rope with Derek.
Yep.
And he's up on his hill. He's on the cliffs, so he's watching this from up high. And which is a shot of a rope that's now leading off of the cliff, and it's very tight, like there's something tied to the other end.
Yeah.
And that's all we see for now.
He pays no mind to it. Barry's he's not phased. He knows. And then we get this seen anyone else? Anything about Barry? Nope. Place is completely deserted.
Yeah,
he's walking around.
The town's deserted.
Yeah. So we see Barry walking through the streets of the town. No one to be seen. He's like, they're probably all dead. And then, we see Derek back on the mountain. He's been watching the skies. He has this little thing about he's like, I've been watching the skies. Everything's been pointing to this town. It's telling me.
Yeah, we're gonna save the world.
Yeah.
Then we get cut back to the guy back in his car, the collector.
Yeah, so he's trying to read the map again, and then he noticed he's like, "Oh, I'm reading this map. I don't know where I'm going," and immediately looks up. You just see this street sign directing him. He's like, either one way is Kaharo, the other way was Castle Rock, which was a very nice little Stephen King reference there.
Oh, yeah.
He also has a bread card similar to what Barry had.
Yeah, so
it's like a little tote bag.
Yeah, so he's like the collector that's going to come. Apparently, back in the 80s, you used to like just put your money into an envelope and then the collectors just came around and got them off your doorstep.
Yeah.
And that's what he's doing. So we can tell he's trying to get to this place to pick up all the collections.
Yeah. So we cut back to, once again, it's
Barry.
Yeah. So Derek is suggesting to Barry, like over the walkie, like, you just got to keep an eye out. You might not be alone. And, and Barry's just kind of like, yeah, look, I know what I'm doing. He stands against a garage door. He's just like, I'm not that bloody stupid. And as soon as that happens, a horde of these like blue-collared zombie guys, they grab him, they drag him into the garage. And then we hear a lot of this like...
fighting sound effects?
Yeah, it's just like, joosh, 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 joosh,
Just like
joosh.
Barry,
And,
yeah,
like,
Barry's fighting them in the shed.
Barry's just fighting them all off in the shed, but he's probably just in there by himself, like, pa-pow, pa-pow, choo.
I know, they wouldn't even do any of that because they put all the sound effects in afterwards. And then we see Barry, he gets thrown out of the shed through the door.
Yep.
He drops his radio on the ground.
And his gun.
Yep. And more blue shirts are in there. And this is the point where you realise that all the baddies are just dudes in blue shirts.
Yeah, that's all the budget would afford, okay?
Yeah.
We can't afford an intergalactic unitard. It has to be like...
blue shirts. And I'm wondering if it's like the blue collar shirts is a payout of blue collar zombies, like as in the workforce.
That's right.
Which aliens would think would be the best thing to hide.
Yeah. So, now Barry's running off. He's got a horde of these zombies trailing behind him. And we get this, like, ongoing little scene where he's, like, trying to give them the slip. Yeah. Very quickly he does. He gives them the slip and he hides in a garden shed.
Like a little garden shed, yeah. And then we cut back to Derek. And Derek is calling other people on the walkie-talkie. He's calling some new characters. And now we're introduced to Ozzy and Frank. And we have a hard cut to a muscle car.
Yes.
Driving along to pub rock music. It's like it's a Ford Mustang.
Yeah.
A purple one.
Yep.
And so Ozzy is like, if you can imagine a young Jimmy Barnes. Like curly hair. And he's like, yeah, good one.
It's it's almost a mullet.
Yeah, yeah.
Almost a mullet.
And Frank is kind of like, I think Frank is their leader.
Yeah, he seems to be like the...
He's like the military kind of dude. He wears a parka. He's got short hair.
He's the straight man.
Yeah. Because later on, like, he's always kind of directing them and telling them what to do. So I figured he's the boss of their organisation.
Yeah.
What was it called again? AIDS or whatever.
AIDS. Oh, God. No.
Yeah, they look like country lads.
Yeah. Just, you'd see him at your local
Because
pub.
they are.
Yeah.
They're just like...
They all are.
Peter Jackson's mate.
So Derek, he's very excited to let them know that he's captured a live one. And he's like, I can give you an eyewitness account. This is gonna be great. We're gonna save the world. We're all gonna be here.
He actually says, I'll give you a description of this intergalactic wanker. Oh, man. This is how they deliver lines. This intergalactic wanker. And then Derek like goes to his backpack. He pulls out a hammer and like a machete kind of thing, a big knife rod.
Yeah, it's like a huge, like almost a rail spike.
Yeah,
but thinner.
And he goes over, and we see that tied to this rope that's hanging off the cliff is a man with a beard, which is also played by
Peter Jackson.
And we didn't mention that Derek is played by Peter Jackson.
Yes.
So Peter Jackson is Derek. Also, this guy hanging off the cliff, whose name is Robert. He is Peter Jackson as well, but with a beard. So but I didn't know this till the end, and at no point did I know that these were the same actors. Hey,
no.
He did really good in his editing and stuff. Like,
yeah. No, this was really good. So Derek starts acting like a real tough guy.
Now, first he like explains to he goes like, "What does the alien look like?" to Ozzy and Frank in the car. He goes, "Well, he kind of has a blue shirt and a beard and looks like us." And they're like, "Oh no, Derek's bloody just bagged himself a drunk.
He's turkeyed it up.
He's turkeyed it." And and then and that's basically it. That scene. And that cuts back to Barry.
Yep.
And Barry is still hiding in the garden shed. He gets a pitchfork.
He's ready. He's getting ready.
This is a funny joke, actually. He gets his pitchfork ready. You know, he's about to, you know, the zombie's on the other side of the door. He gets ready. You know, he kicks the door open. He goes to run out the shed with the pitchfork. And then he's just like, he isn't getting anywhere because his collar is caught on a hook on the wall.
Somehow, it's like an actual coat rack.
Yeah.
It is a coat rack in there that he has somehow managed to get stuck on. So he comes barreling out the door and is immediately swicked back because, he can't go anywhere.
And the zombie just kind of looks at him and he's like...
So it's like one zombie now. It's like knows that he's in there. So they also just start to swarm around him and he
locks himself in.
They use one of them as a battering ram. So it's like 4 guys holding this one guy, like smacking him into the door. Which is fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And then cut back to Derek. And Derek has got his hammer and his big blade machete thing. And he started to... Because the guy's hanging upside down. And he's like, you're going to tell me I want you yelling in some alien language by the time my mates get here. And he starts hammering the blade into the bottom of the guy's shoe. And, of course, Peter Jackson at any point just blood just starts splurting out.
It like splurts into his face. He gets like hit in the eye. Like his glasses are now covered in blood. It's like, yeah, gross.
Yeah.
But as he is hammering into the foot, Robert starts to scream. So he starts letting out this like alien like wail.
Sound like...
Yeah. So all the other blue collars start sort of...
chasing Barry suddenly.
They just stop and they immediately disperse. And as they disperse to basically go towards where Robert is, they're grabbing hammers, sledgehammers, and they are now on their way to Derek.
And one of them grabs like a tiny little hammer because he's the last one and there's nothing left.
Yeah, it's just like, oh.
Just grabs like a little tiny... Yeah.
It's like that little kid that like always wants to hang out with the big kids, but all they get is like a stick.
Yeah.
It's cute.
Barry realizes that what they're doing. He runs out, picks up his radio off the ground, and he calls Derek.
Yep.
And yeah, what is it? He basically...
Yeah, like he just sort of like he grabs... So he picks up his gun, he picks up the radio. No, wait, he doesn't drop his radio. He only drops his gun because when he's running... So he's picked up his gun, he starts running, his radio falls off his belt and he only kind of... He's like halfway up the hill, turns... realizes it's gone.
No, because he dropped the radio earlier. He's running up the hill. Yeah, he just picks up his gun.
And then he's like, oh,
no, I don't have a radio.
Yeah, because he's got to go back and get it. And he's just like, he looks so knackered. He's like, I'm so done. I just need to go to the pub and have a beer. But he also, like, he stands there for a very clear moment and he's like, okay, do I need the radio? Should I just, it's all the way over there. Okay, I'll go get it. So he, like, runs back. He's like, yeah.
And it cuts back to Derek, and Derek now pulls the machete out of the blue shirt, out of Robert's foot, and more blood splats up into his face and stuff. Right, and at this point, he kind of nearly falls off the cliff as well.
Yeah,
so really showing that he's on the teetering on the edge of a cliff.
And we get this really good sense that Derek is he's a bit of a dickhead. He's sadistic. He's a bumbling fool, really.
But he's also sadistic.
Oh, he's very sadistic.
He's a tinfoil hat dude. The shit's gone real though. What he was thinking. Yeah. Or they think
And we get one of we are about to get one of the most iconic things, and Dan, I feel that you get the best of this.
So then Barry goes back, gets his radio, calls Derek, and he gets on the radio, said, like, more of those blue shirt wankers are coming up. You got to get out of there, Derek. You got to run. He goes, and then Derek, the classic line, I can't do that. I'm a Derek, and Derek's don't run. I'm a Derek.
Okay.
Which is really funny because we've got a friend named Derek.
Yeah. Is he a runner?
No, but like one of our whole things was that like whenever we had a party, we'd put on the invite no Dereks. Yeah. So he couldn't go. Like everything was no Dereks.
I love that. So Derek, he starts to take his precautions. He's like, don't worry, I've got precautions, it's fine. He tightens his little Doctor Who scarf that he's wearing, and he starts fumbling around in his backpack. And this is the most awkward thing because clearly whatever is in his backpack is too big to be in his backpack. So he's just like shaking it and trying to pull it out, and he ends up pulling out a machine gun.
Yeah, it's like an Uzi it's not an Uzi, it's like an old school machine gun.
Yeah, pretty much. And he goes running towards the blue collars, and he basically slips on shit as he does it.
But he recovers well.
He recovers well, yeah.
But then He just unloads a full clip into the forest for no reason. Because he's just having heaps of fun. Like, there's no one there.
But he also, like, he is so excited by this, he's clearly unloaded something else in his pants.
That is true. He just wanted to... And he runs out of ammo just as the blue shirts rock up. He's got no ammo because he shot all the trees.
That's right. So the battering ram blue collar comes stumbling out. And Derek, he just turns around and just starts pretend shooting at the guy. And he's just like,
Yeah, and the blue collar dudes are such an idiot. He thinks he's been shot. Like, he goes, yeah, weird.
He immediately runs back to his backpack and he's like trying to pull out another round. But once
he gets some more, he gets another ammo.
Once he gets more ammo, he gets it in and he starts shooting. But he is shooting and he is still making the sounds as he does.
But then because the guy wasn't shot before, he thinks he's not getting shot.
Yeah.
So he just keeps walking into the bullets and then dies. It's a really weird scene.
At one point, this is really cool as well.
He shoots him heaps.
He does. And then just to add insult to injury, he shoves the gun through the guy and uses him as a shield as the others come running
the guy kind of like, he shoots him so much, he falls onto Derek. And then his gun just goes through him.
So this isn't Derek being smart. This is Derek just being right place, like right time. You know, he should have died, but he's just too dumb and kind of gets away with it. Yeah,
and the gun goes through the guy, and then he starts shooting more blue shirts through the guy that's on him.
Yeah.
Which I thought was heaps funny.
This is smart. He's smart. Yeah.
Well, they did that in Dusk Till Dawn, you remember, with the shotgun?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he pulls the gun from the corpse and sort of tips the gun upside down. All the blood comes trickling out. He goes to test it for another couple of rounds just to make sure that it hasn't, like, flooded, I guess.
Yep. Just clear the barrel. He has a little... And he laughs to himself. He goes, all the time. Like,
he's fucking
then Derek finds another ammo clip in his backpack.
Yep.
But then, like, just as he's, like, about to kind of put it in, a blue shirt comes up, has a swipe at him, and knocks the clip out of his hand, and we see the clip go off towards off the cliff.
It's gone down a little bit. And I really like this scene as well. I think this scene was very well choreographed because there is a couple of real good swipes. And even when he's fallen onto the ground and another one of the blue collars with the sledgehammer goes to hammer him in the face, hits the fence, and the fence is literally what saves him.
Yeah.
But
and there's a couple of shots where they hit their hammers together.
Yeah.
He basically it's kind of like a wacky kind of Three Stoogery kind of scene of like mishaps of like the blue shirts missing Derek with sledgehammers.
But it looks really good. Like, I feel that because I'm guessing there was no occult health and safety on this shoot either. I'm thinking that there is a chance that someone could have gotten really hurt doing this.
Oh, yeah.
But they pulled it off very well.
Anyhow, Derek, eventually Derek kind of just falls off the cliff.
Yep.
And he grabs onto the rope, which previously had Robert tied to it.
Yes.
And Robert has gone. The rope is just gnawed off.
That Astro bastard, he's gone.
Astro bastard.
So
Derek's now hanging off the cliff of the rope. There are two blue shirts above him with sledgehammers, both of them.
Yep.
Derek pulls the clip. He kind of like the clip is sitting there on the cliff. He kind of gets the clip.
Yeah. Takes him a while. Puts it into his gun, whacks it in with his head. Like, he puts the clip in the gun and then hits it, headbutts the clip to click it all the way in. I thought that was funny. Yeah.
And then he starts...
He just starts shooting again. So
one of the blue shirts cuts the rope.
Yeah.
And he's there balancing and he grabs onto a little bush.
He's got a little piece of grass in his hand, basically.
So he's just hanging off the cliff now by a bit of grass.
Yep. And yeah, so he drops... One of them drops the hammer in the end, and he starts firing. And then brains are going everywhere.
And he starts shooting the guy's arm.
Yeah, so he's shooting the guy's arm so much that he loses his grip.
Yeah, the guy that he's shooting the arm, he goes to put his sledgehammer up in the air to take a shot. And as he's doing that, Derek shoots his arm off, which makes the sledgehammer go backwards and smash into the skull of the blue guy behind him.
Yes.
So we've got this gore, more brains.
Oh, it's so much. There's so much brain and gore. So literal brain. This looks so cool. I'm pretty certain some animals were harmed.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're all lamb's brains they just bought.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so now this guy, his arm has come off and the blood is splurting out everywhere. The arm is still...
Does he walk off the cliff? Does he just fall off the cliff? I can't remember.
No, he just falls down dead.
Yeah, right.
So the guy's arm gets shot off, just dies.
Yes.
But then there's still left is the guy that has the sledgehammer in his head, which also still has the arm hanging off of it.
This looks perfect. perfection because he comes walking into the shot and all you can see walking into the shot first
is
the handle of the sledgehammer with the severed arm attached, and then him in the shot and you can see it's in his head. It's just still bloodied
and there's still
everywhere.
blood coming out of the arm, which is now dripping onto Derek, like, annoyingly.
So he's trying to kind of like, while he's down there, because Robert has like, he's now kind of clearly escaped. He's still kind of trying to survey the bottom of the cliff. Like, is he down there? I don't know. But as he's doing that, there is a rustle in the bushes beside him and he just starts shooting. So he starts shooting at it. Robert then jumps out.
So Robert was hiding somewhere.
He was hiding in the bushes all along. He jumps out, knocks the gun out of Derek's hand. They tussle. Of course, everyone's always tussling.
And this is teetering really on the side of like a New Zealand cliff. Like this is, slippery slopes down to a beach, rocked beach at the bottom.
Very rocky beach. And Robert ends up Sparta kicking him off the cliff.
Yeah, kicking Derek off.
This looks great as well because we get to see like an actual mannequin. It's not just like a stuffed thing.
They've made like a rubbery kind of...
It looks
mannequin
realistic.
That looks like Peter Jackson or Derek.
Yeah.
But he's in this kind of funny pose.
It's like a mannequin that's like they've built it sitting on a chair. So he's like, looks like he's sitting on a chair.
Yeah, but he's rolling down back. And this mannequin, you just see this shot of this mannequin hilariously falling down this cliff, hitting into rocks and shit on the way. It's like, but there's still a voiceover going, ooh, ah, ooh.
Me.
Yeah,
and like
we see this dummy hit the ground. And I don't think it's the rocks.
Yeah.
Blood doesn't splat up. Someone just throws a bucket of blood in off camera from the right hand side. It looks so fake. It's so good.
No, this scene made me laugh so hard because again, this is like that kind of level of comedy.
Pure comedy.
That just makes me, because it's ridiculously
it knows how fake it
violent.
looks.
I'm guessing that this mannequin as well it's one of the mannequins that they used like a crash test dummy.
Yeah, because it's kind of rubbery and
But it is still, it's just,
oh, man,
oh my God,
so
I laughed so hard and even now I'm laughing even harder.
Oh.
So now
we cut to Barry.
Fucking happy about that. Barry's running through the scrub, which
Derek.
isn't actually really scrub. It's actually really beautiful.
Yeah, because New Zealand, man.
That's right.
It's where Lord of the Rings is.
That's exactly right. And he sees, as he's running up, he sees Robert barreling towards him.
So Robert is a blue shirt, just in case people forget.
Yeah, I referred to him as Astro Bastard the whole way through the film.
Oh, really?
I did, because I didn't catch his name at any point.
Yeah, but at the end, like, because Lord Crumb says his name so much, like, Robert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's like, we think, okay, well, fuck, this was going to happen. Like, Barry, hope you got your gun. And he just like, Robert just... He hurdles.
He jumps over Barry.
The shit out of
and
Barry.
And it has that like $10 million man kind of sound going over it. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And yeah.
And he just keeps running.
Robert just keeps running. And like Barry's like, what the fuck?
I think he tries to like unload a couple of rounds at him, but just misses him because he's going really fast. So the blue car's rocked up.
Yeah, cutting now back to the blue car, to the collector.
So he's rocked up. He removes his tie and he actually cuts something off of his bread bag, and he fashions a little clerical collar,
a preacher collar, a fake preacher. So is this to say that he's just a scumbag, like getting money off of people?
Yeah, he's just here to collect money for himself, basically. Yeah. So he's fashioned that, and he walks off with his little bag in tow, and I'm like, what's your game, sir? You're here for things. So he's not really part of any of the group that these guys are part of. He's just there to collect money and be an absolute wanker.
But our group, the boys know that he's on his way, though, because they saw all the flyers.
Yeah.
Then we cut to Ozzy and Frank. They're still driving. So a lot of the film, they're just getting to the place.
Yeah, well, they're fixing a road closed nuclear contamination sign.
So they put up a fake sign so no one will come.
Yeah, blocking off the road, and they're kind of like, do you think this will be alright? It's like, yeah, no one will come through. It's fine. And they, once again, back in the car, driving off, heading into town.
So, yeah, that's them. So, they're just saying, this is the reason why there's no one kind of come to this town.
Yeah.
Barry calls on the walkie-talkie. He calls Frank and Ozzy and tells him that Derek fell off a cliff.
Yeah, it's really hit the fan. Derek's dead. And then
What?
This is so
No,
funny.
the first bit is like Ozzy goes, "Oh, who's going to look after his Avery now?" Like Avery, and he's like, "Birds were the only thing that he could really relate to." And then it cuts to a shot of Derek dead on the rocks with a whole bunch of seagulls eating him. And then, with him saying, "Birds are the only thing he could relate." There's a lot of seagulls in this film.
There's so many seagulls in this.
So, who's going to look after his Averys? And then Barry goes, "Oh, this guy jumped over me. I'm going to go follow him and see where he was heading because it seemed like he was going somewhere."
Yeah, and he kind of essentially just lets Frank and Ozzy. He's just like, "Stay where you are. Don't come. Just wait for me to come and tell you because it could be really dangerous."
Yeah.
So yeah, cut to.
It's like this is kind of a montage-y thing of Barry running through the wilderness, following Robert. You know what I mean? Like, This is some big wide shots of New Zealand landscape with them kind of running through it to some music. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's nice. It's very pretty.
And then we cut to the collector.
Yes, he's making his way in town. We see a dog barking. So literally the only thing alive in the town, clearly. And, turns in the other direction, goes to knock on the door. There's already a bread sign on the door.
Yep.
So, okay. Like, he's grabbing that. He's doing things. And then...
he's basically just doing his collecting rounds.
Yeah. And he walks... it's just sort of like walking around the town. Does he trip on something? I don't remember what he does. Dan, help me out here.
Basically, he's just walking along, and then suddenly he comes along.
He steps on roadkill.
He steps on a bit of roadkill, which is totally unnecessary.
Okay.
And then he sees something's like moving in the bushes. He goes over there, and we see Robert.
Thank you.
Who is now Robert, the blue shirt, who is now eating the first blue shirt because this is the bushes that Barry hid the body in. He is now eating the brains out of the corpse of the first one, which had its head blown off with a spoon.
Well, he's literally spooning the brains out of his head. Yes,
and it's really good because he's like, and then Robert sees this collector and he gets all flustered and he sticks the spoon into the brain of, as you'd stick a spoon into a dessert. And as he does that, all blood comes out of the dummies. It's just a dummy. This is a mannequin.
This does look amazing as well. Like,
it would have been so violent.
What he has made for 1987, we know a lot of the films that had come around this time, but for what he has made, it's insane.
For no budget.
This
is why he became such a good filmmaker. Because clearly he's a good filmmaker.
Yes.
Through and through. And he's not been cancelled. Peter Jackson's done nothing wrong, which is great.
Never.
He hasn't, has he?
No.
Good.
No.
It's about time. About time someone had some good morals out there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And out the blue shirt jumps up. Robert starts chasing the collector with a machete.
Yep.
The collector, he runs because he realises shit's up. He gets into his car. Oh, why not?
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yep. So he's running off now. He's really running. You've got Robert chasing him behind him, and I'm he's kind of he's really running for it, but he's also going at this he's meandering, and I'm like, why do you look like you're drunk? And I've kind of remembered, you've had a railway spike in your foot. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, Robert, yeah.
So
the collector gets in his car.
He stops. He
Doesn't he give him the finger?
He does. He literally he gets ahead of him. He stops. He turns around. He just flips him off. And then starts running towards the car, but then slips, goes ass over tit, kind of just smacks his face in the ground, kind of gets up, runs back to his car, gets in the car. Car's not starting because of course it's not going to start. And
then he's like, oh no. And he sees Robert coming towards him out the window, and he's like, "I'll just do up the window." And of course, the window won't do up. Yep. It's it's one of those old winders. It's like, and I know, he's building suspense from a window not going up.
Robert sticks his arm. He's got his arm in there with the machete, and he's trying to stab, but it won't work.
Because the collector does get the window up and jams his hand into the window.
Yeah, but because his hand is jammed, he's still kind of trying to maneuver it and trying to stab him. It's just not happening.
The collector, he gets the car going, and he looks at Robert and goes, "Bye bye," and then he drives off. But this is heaps funny. This show. So he's driving off, and Robert's getting dragged along, but he's not going very fast at all. Robert's just kind of jogging next to him.
Yeah, it's just a light jog.
And he's you can see him pushing down on the accelerator, doing the choke, trying to get more, make the car go faster. And then he looks down, and he's got the fucking handbrake on. And I was like, So he takes the handbrake off, and of course the car speeds off.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's great because he Robert kind of like you
gets
can
out.
see him and he's kind of jammed his hand out, but you can kind of see that the skin on his hand starting to come off a little bit as well, which is a nice little taste of goodness.
But yeah. So what's his name? Gets away.
Yeah.
Then we cut to Frank and Ozzy. Mm-hmm. Barry's called them to tell him that he's spotted something. Barry's called him on the walkie-talkie to say, "I spotted this house," or saying, "I think that where the monsters are going to."
Yeah.
And he sees the collector. So the collector's like, pissed. He's driven.
Yes.
Seen the house, gotten out of the car, and the collector has run to this house for help.
Yeah. Well, is he running for help or is he going to collect again?
He's like running for help. It's a big house on the hill.
Barry spies him running up, but he also spies Robert kind of trailing behind.
Yeah, so
he's like, "Oh, shit might get real."
The collector rings the doorbell on this big, huge mansion, and this big fat guy in shorts, an apron, and a chef's hat answers the door. Basically, he's like big, fat, Aussie, bearded, fat dude.
Yeah.
He's not a fat man. He's just got a big beer belly.
Yeah.
He's like a bloody New Zealander.
Yeah.
And the chef, basically, he answers, he's like...
Yeah, he's got that big thing about him.
And he pulls out a big wooden mallet.
Yeah, cleaves him in the head.
Clonks the collector on the head, and he drags him inside the house.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre style.
It is exactly that, door shuts.
Yes.
Barry sees all this happen, and he's like, "Oh, no." So he calls Ozzy and Frank, and he goes... And this is how good is this line.
There's trouble.
He goes, "We've got trouble." Ozzy looks up and goes, "Good one." Because Ozzy is clearly... And they mentioned loosely somewhere in the film, I didn't write it down, that Ozzy has a split personality problem.
Oh, I didn't pick up on that.
It never comes up ever again. It's just a loose comment. He goes, "Yeah, pity about his split personality problem, eh?"
I never picked up on that.
So Ozzy is his problem is that he's just fully into guns.
Yeah. Oh, he's very excited.
He just wants to shoot stuff. Anyhow, good one.
Good one.
So they start to get ready. And then we cut to the collector. He wakes up and he is in a drum, like a 44-gallon drum.
Yep.
Filled with liquid and vegetables. And he has an apple wedged in his mouth.
Yeah, it's not just wedged. It is sticky taped.
Oh, sticky tape.
There is sticky tape around it. And he's sitting naked in a stew pot under a bare bulb.
A bare what?
Bare bulb. So it's like just one of those...
Oh, yeah.
Hanging lights.
Yeah, it's kind of like a dark room, and it's just, one bulb hanging, lighting the room.
Yep. So the chef and Robert are there, and they're kind of staring at him. And
then this other guy comes in, a new character, who is Lord... Yeah, he comes in, doesn't he? Yeah.
Yes.
Who is Lord Crumb.
He's an elderly gentleman.
Yeah, he's a balding gentleman, an aristocratic-looking gentleman. He's the only one who really has any lines of the bad guys.
Yep.
He monologues, and says, "Human flesh is a new taste sensation, sweeping the galaxy."
Yeah, he kind of stands there and lays out the evil plot to the collector.
Goes, "We're gonna have we're inviting you to dinner, and you're it."
Yeah,
says all these cheesy lines like that.
Yeah, it's all these people have come here from another planet. We're gonna harvest all the flesh, and we're gonna treat them to a delicious dinner, and it's gonna be you.
Then there's this the Lord Crumb leaves.
Yep.
And then there's as he leaves, the chef looks at the guy in the barrel, the collector, and gives him what's that sign called?
The throat,
slit the throat, where you
go, kind.
As in you're dead,
yeah.
And he does that. And then Robert, seeing the chef do that, thinking he'll do that, and he does that.
But he does it with a knife.
But he does it with a knife and cuts his own throat. And then the guy, the collector, laughs at that. But then blood splats out of Robert's neck and straight into the collector's face to almost go, "You're a dickhead, man." Doesn't kill Robert or anything.
No,
He's fine.
There's actually a really nice little scene just before the Lord Crumb leaves where Robert comes up and he he shines the apple that's in his mouth. He's like, just all these, it's the very little details that really get me as well.
Oh, and then speaking of details, we cut now back to Derek's corpse on the beach on the rocks. And we see his blood, there's blood everywhere. And he's like, there's all the seagulls are still on him and eating him. And we see his face and he wakes up. He's not dead.
Oh.
And he just sits up and for some reason headbutts one of the seagulls. Like there's a seagull on him and he swoops up, headbutts the seagull and kills it.
It's just the way he headbutts this little taxidermied seagull is fucking gold.
And then he looks down to where he was laying and he sees that he had landed on a whole bunch of seagulls.
He's crushed a bunch of seagulls.
And they're like the most fake looking seagulls. They have like blood coming out of their mouths.
Yeah, they look amazing.
His fall was broken by a bunch of seagulls. This makes Derek laugh a bit.
Yeah.
He has a little laugh, but then, because he's laughing, this is hard to explain. Basically, the back of his head has split open.
Yes. So
into like a hinge flap, kind of thing. So it flaps open like a triangle hinge.
Yeah.
If you could imagine his skull, like a skull hinge or something. Yeah. Basically showing his brain has come, and that opens up, and that obviously, you know, your brain being exposed makes him fall back down and have a seizure.
Yeah, so he convulses a little bit and he's like, he closes the bit up.
Yeah, he kind of...
But then as he's closed it up and he's holding it, he kind of notices
he looks
this
back
small
down.
part of his brain is just sitting on the rock.
And he's like, oh!
And he kind of just like...
Picks it up, which is a real bit of brain.
Opens up the back of this little skull and kind of just shoves it back in.
And mushes it back.
And just kind of starts walking off. But because part of his brain's loose, he's kind of just like, stumbling about.
Yeah, so he's gone crazy. He's starting to go even crazier because he's just mushing his brain back in.
He's a little
This is disgusting,
This
hey?
is gross.
Like the actual, the brain, the skull hinge, we can kind of call it. It's hard to explain, but like, it's like a skull flap. Like it's just been held on by skin and it opens up.
Yeah.
He's just mushed it close and mushed the brain back into his brain.
So good.
And this is like where you can see like the brain dead kind of stuff coming out of it. He's full detail for gore and hilarious gore vibes, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then we cut back to the boys, basically. Barry, Frank, and Ozzy are now together.
Yep. They're hatching a plan.
They're at the house and they're looking into it. They're scoping out the house. They've got binoculars and stuff. They're looking at it. And then their plan is they decide to go into the house at midnight and get back the collector. So their goal is to get that guy out the house and to deal with whoever's in there.
Because that's when they're all asleep, and that's when they shall do it.
Yeah.
Why not?
Then we cut back to Derek, and he's like walking through the streets and stuff. And then we see that he has a car that is hidden in some bushes.
Yeah.
Which is a new car. We haven't seen this car. It's also blue.
Yes.
There's only blue cars in this film. He opens the door. He pulls out a big top hat.
Because that's what you keep in your car.
And he puts that on his head to hold his basically his head together so his flap doesn't open again. And then he passes out.
He just immediately passes out.
Because like you would, because from the trauma. And so now Derek is on the ground, passed out with a top hat on.
Having a bit of a sleep, sure. We cut back to Barry. We'll cut back to the boys.
The boys.
And again, it's now that time of the night. They're about to head in.
They're suiting up.
Yep.
They're weaponing up.
Yep. Because do you know why? It's open season on ET.
Yeah.
Right. We're going to get in quietly. We're going to get out quietly.
So yeah, they get like machine guns. They put like balaclavas on.
Yeah, once they put the balaclavas on, this made it so much harder for me to concentrate. So they start loading up on weapons. Ozzy goes for a box, a big wooden box in the boot, and Barry says no go.
Yeah, he goes.
And I'm like, but I want to know what's in the box.
Yeah, so
what's in the box?
Ozzy's upset that he can't get to use whatever's in this box. It's not needed yet. And Barry just, for some reason, also changes his pants in this scene.
Yeah.
Because remember he got blood on them earlier.
Right.
But there's a full shot of him just in his tidy whities, like, and they're having a conversation while they're changing. And he's like, so Frank, who's the leader of the group, he's just going on about their organisation. Like, we can only use violence when it's a direct threat to planet Earth. And then Barry looks over the car and goes, and the moon.
He's just so offended by like the fact that he didn't include the moon.
But then Frank's like, yeah, and the moon. And the moon. Yeah, and the moon. So good. And then hard cut, and now it's nighttime.
Yeah.
So they've gotten ready. They've got they're all in balaclavas with machine guns and bulletproof vests. They're basically turned into a SWAT team.
Yeah, they're their own little 3-man
They're a
SWAT team.
government organisation.
They are, yes. So they're in the house. Robert heads into a room, and we get this very... He sort of goes into this just bedroom kind of thing of the house, and we get this very quick glimpse of an alien, like, hand sort of reaching out towards him.
Which is Lord Crumb.
Yeah. Then we get this shadow...
A silhouette
on the wall, and these crunching sounds kind of indicating that there is a transformation.
Yeah, we can see Lord Crumb is transforming. He was an alien, and he's mutating now back to being a human.
Yeah.
And then he comes out and he's, human. So.
So he comes out and he starts addressing all the blue collars who have all gathered at the foot of the stairs to listen to him speak. And he's basically like, we're going to leave tomorrow, stay in human form until then. Do not transform. We are not going to take any chances. That's it,
And then we cut to the boys. They're sneaking inside the mansion.
Yep. They've synchronized their watches too.
Yeah, they synchronize their watches
you have to.
No reason.
If you're in a SWAT team, you're going in, you synchronize your watches,
mate. Remember in Parker Lewis Can't Lose? It was like synchronized swatches. Anyhow, where the boys, they go into a room, and they come into a room, and there's a giant... in the corner of the room is a whole bunch of cardboard boxes stacked up, and they've got blood coming out of them. And then there's a quick cut to, like, Lord Crumb going, "Isn't it amazing how you can fit a whole town... cut up into a bunch of cardboard boxes if you trim the fat off."
Yeah.
And so they're like, "Oh, no." And at the same time, like, Barry, for some reason, goes, "Oh, it's like there's blood all over the floor in this room." He gets a mop out and starts cleaning.
Why so dirty? It's a doc health and safety issue.
Yeah, and he starts mopping up the blood for some reason, which is amazing. I thought it was hilarious. So he just can't handle stuff being... And it suits his character, because earlier he didn't like his pants being dirty.
Yeah.
So he starts mopping up the blood, cleaning the room for no reason.
As that happens, one of the blue collar guys, he heads into the room.
Yeah.
And they start fighting.
Yeah, so there's a blue shirt guy in the room. Basically, they kind of kick... He's got a bowl in his hand.
Yeah.
He's got a glass bowl. They kind of like knock it out of his hand and catch it for some reason. They don't want to smash it because they're trying not to make noise.
Well, yeah, they've got to be quiet.
They kind of get him onto all fours, and Ozzy grabs him, twists his head around, and sub-zeros his head off with the spine. And this looks great as well. So
It does. It looks so good. He just rips his head off with the spinal cord still attached, and it's just blood splattering everywhere. And Barry just turns around and he's like, "Oi, I just cleaned that spot."
Yeah. No, he goes,
and he just starts mopping again.
Yeah, that's what's hilarious. He's just like, so they've just killed this guy, and obviously blood spilling out in the area. And just as they're in the action scene, Barry comes in and goes, "Oh, just clean that bit."
Just starts
I know. And then Frank's like to Ozzy, get rid of the head.
And he just punts it out the window.
No, but he slams it onto the ground.
Yeah.
Rips the spinal cord off and punts it out the window. And then it shows a picture of Ozzy. He goes, the old magic's still there. Like it's in his footy days. The old magic's still there.
So at this point, Frank, he's grabbed the blue shirt, and he's gonna head on into the line stand. He's gonna suit up.
He's grabbed the blue shirt, and he's disguised himself as a blue shirt.
Yep.
And he's gone into the meeting to get I don't know why he needed to go in there, but he is and then Ozzy's giving him the bowl. Mm-hmm. He goes, "This guy had this bowl. He was taking it in there. So, you should take it in as well. So you look like you're the guy coming in."
Yep.
And he's like, cool.
So he walks out and the leader is talking, but he's like, he's doing that sort of that company-wide speech. Like, "I'm proud of you. The company you are a valuable member of this company." That kind of speech. Yeah, all the blue shit.
Tells him about his plans for harvesting all humans for the intergalactic intergalactic fast food joints, and all that kind of stuff. Taste sensation. Anyhow, they
as they're doing that though, as he's having this speech, like they pick up Robert.
Yeah, they pick up Robert, and so the other blue shirts pick him up.
They walk him over to the bowl,
which Frank is holding.
Yes, and Robert immediately starts spewing out this vomiting
this I'm going to say, what colour is it? Aqua?
Yeah, I'm going to say aqua, like this pastel blue kind of
Vomit. With
vomit.
With carrot bits in it and stuff. And it just
Yeah.
goes for ages.
It's, yeah.
So,
And this looks really good because, I mean, it is very clearly a puppet. So it's a puppet of Peter Jackson's face, but it does look really good.
yeah.
Like, if you're not really paying attention, you'd be like, what the fuck? Like, this is done really well.
Well, what's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
And yeah, it fills up the entire
The
bowl.
whole bowl.
That Frank's holding.
And we're talking like a punch bowl, not like a cereal bowl.
Yeah, it's a massive bowl.
Yeah, it's a huge bowl.
And it's glass so we can see what's in it, which
Yeah.
makes it gross.
He hands it to the leader,
To Lord Crumb.
and he starts drinking out
And
of
he
it.
goes, ooh, a fine bouquet, Robert. And he goes, dinner is served. And
Yeah.
so this is what they eat. They eat humans and vomit them up? Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. They start passing it
Now,
around.
first Lord Crumb drinks a bit and he looks at the crowd and he goes, aren't I lucky? I got a chunky bit.
Ah,
Yeah.
gross. They start passing it around. Frank, obviously, he's
Doesn't want to drink it.
No, he's just kind of like walking and sort of like, you know, towards the back of the line.
Yeah, he's trying to keep walking down so he doesn't have to drink it, and then all of a sudden he's at the end of the line and
But
the bowl
it gets
to
to
him
him.
and everyone looks at him.
And he drinks it. He
Drinks a
goes
bit of
for a drink and he's like, oh,
It's pretty
it
nice.
tastes
And
pretty good.
But the whole time, I like that you can see Ozzy
He's
looking
just like-
through the door, laughing at the fact that he has to drink this vomit, and you can see him like looking at him with his smiley face, going, "Oh, look what he has to do."
This bastard.
And then
Frank goes back for seconds.
Frank goes back for the second, which is hilarious. But then Frank puts the bowl down. It's finished, and he goes back to the boys.
Yeah.
And then this is one of those scenes where it was a sample. I've heard this. Like, this was in a band, an Adelaide band. You know, when you hear, we've talked about this before. When you hear the sample of a thing and how weird it sounds out of context and not in the CD. And that bit where he's like, Christ, you never believe what I just had to do. And Ozzy goes, did you have to drink some chuck? Like, Christ, did you have? He's like, yeah. So that was a sample from a band that I used to listen to. So I thought it was hilarious.
That's glorious. So basically, once this happens, like everyone in the house says goodnight. Like you get this like exterior shot of the house and all of the
Lord
lights.
Crumb saying good night, Robert.
He's just like going into everyone's rooms going, good night.
And they're just saying like funny names like good night, Nathaniel. Like they've all got this name.
Good night, Steve. And all the lights are switching off.
Anyhow, the boys, it cuts to the collector downstairs.
Yep. They rescue.
The boys come in and rescue him, and now it's morning.
Yeah, what the fuck? So they're looking for a way out, but now it's daytime. And that I was so confused by this because I'm like, okay,
They've just been there all night. Well, they started at midnight, and obviously that just went for like 8 hours.
Sure.
It doesn't matter. It's morning now. It's probably
fine.
because they just had to film I didn't want to film at night anymore.
Yeah, that's fair. So we get this shot. It is morning time. The blue collars are sort of walking the perimeter of
Now they have
the
guns.
house, and they've got guns.
And now-
I'm sure they do.
Yeah, so now So this is basically now just turns into. Have you ever seen Commando? Like the Arnold Schwarzenegger film where
I want to say yes, but
he storms like a mansion at the end with a whole bunch of dudes with guns, and they have a firefight on the gardens over. And this is exactly that. The whole end of this film is Commando.
Like I want to say that I've seen Commando, but who fucking knows?
Oh man,
it sounds very familiar. But they're looking for a way out of the house, and they're opening doors randomly. And they open this one door, and there's just these random two blue collar guys, and they're wearing like weird sunglasses. They're playing like patty cake. You know,
they're kind of just looking...
doing the hand game that all the kids played in school.
One's wearing 3D glasses.
Yeah, sure.
No reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the boys are like... And then kind of... So they go downstairs and a blue...
Yeah,
kind of like...
They get stuck on the stairs because a blue collar guy comes through. He doesn't see them.
No, they hide into the shadows. So they all duck because they're SWAT dudes.
Yeah.
Ninjas.
But he doesn't see them, but he hears something and he pulls out a gun and then...
Basically, then
they start shooting up the place. Now they split up.
Now it's just turned into a massive firefight.
Yeah.
So imagine now it's just turned into music started and dudes just start pouring in with machine guns and stuff. More blue shirts come in to attack. The boys fire machine guns. There's squibs going everywhere. There's shooting happening everywhere. And then because it's so dangerous, they move the collector upstairs.
Yep.
to get him away from like, the action.
So Barry takes him upstairs. We see that they go into a room, and this is good as well because one of the blue collar guys is in there and he's like drinking a glass
beer?
of something, and Barry turns around, shoots him in the head.
Ozzy shoots him in the head.
Sorry, Ozzy.
Ozzy took the collector upstairs.
Once they're in their little SWAT, I don't know who the fuck they are.
I did. Ozzy shoot, and we get this really great shot of like
shoots him in the head, falls down, and the blood starts pouring out of the wound and fills up the glass.
Yeah, but also the headshot was really good as well because the squib was on the back and it splats all over the wall. It looks really good.
Yeah,
like,
this is
so
fantastic.
there's a weird circle that it doesn't do.
Yeah,
did you notice? Like, they just do it.
You can sort of see the leader. He's now sort of lurking in the background. He's obviously trying to suss out how he's going to get out of this or what the next plan is going to be.
But then we do a hard cut, and we're back with Derek. Derek's still on the ground in front of the car.
He wakes up, is immediately shit on by a bird.
Seagull shits on him in the mouth. No reason.
No, that's fine.
He gets up and he gets into the car, and it reveals this car. Which is a 1967 Ford Angelia
Yep.
Angelia van with a wheelchair conversion.
Yes.
So the weird thing about this car is the wheelchair conversion. If you're not using it in a wheelchair, you actually stand in it and drive. It's hard to explain.
Interesting.
Did you remember he was standing at the back? So basically, what these wheelchair, you stand in this car, like you don't see it. You stand in the back of the car. There is a front bit to it, but that's for the passengers. So you stand in the back.
Right.
And it has an extra windscreen for you to look out. And you stand and drive. And they don't have any passengers in this car. All they have is cardboard cutouts of the Beatles.
Yeah. That one threw me. I'm like, sure.
What the fuck's going on? This is a totally I'm pretty sure this is just a New Zealand car. Like, no one knows this car. I looked this car up and there's like, the only reference to it is this film.
Really?
Yeah, that I could find.
Interesting.
So, if you can imagine, it's this ridiculous car. Obviously, one of them must have owned it or someone owned it and they just used it in the film because it is an oddity.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh my God, it's a weird car. Anyhow, and of course, Derek could drive that car.
Yeah, only Derek would drive that car. So we're back to the house. It's shootouts happening. It's just everyone shooting everything.
But Derek's on the way to the mansion.
Yeah, but he's making his way downtown. It's fine.
Yeah.
The leader, at one point, we see him. He's now grabbing a gun. Back to more shooting out. So there's.
But now it's moved into the front garden now, kind of thing. So we have Barry and Frank in the front gardens in a firefight, and then we have Ozzy and the collector are still inside of the house upstairs.
Yep.
Basically, that's it. That's what's happening at the moment. Someone shoots at Frank.
This is good. So someone starts shooting at Frank, but we don't know from where. And we're like, where is this shooting coming from? And
so it's this Leon get a scene where he keeps like dive rolling out the way of this like gunfight and he keeps looking around. There's no one around.
There's no one around. So he starts just opening fire. Like, I think it's like...
There's a big tree. He sees like the bullets come out of a tree. So there's someone hiding in the tree.
So he makes... And it's not a lot of shots either. It's like 1 or 2 shots towards the tree. And then immediately, very sort of slowly, 4 or 5 blue collars...
8 guys fall out of the tree.
Just start falling out
So he
dead.
shot 8 dudes with 2 bullets.
Yeah. It's like, why not? I am on board with this. Everything about this.
Which is a joke. It's great. Then we cut to Ozzy and he's leading the collector along like the outside upstairs balcony of the house because it's a big house. It has like gangways. Gangways because it's the upstairs. It's the top story balcony, but the balconies lead off into like the forest as well because it's built on the side of a hill kind of thing. Yeah. It's a confusing house.
It's a nice house. It's definitely haunted.
Ozzy comes. Then he has to fight something. The chef is there.
The chef comes. That's not who you want to fight.
The chef knocks Ozzy's gun out of his hand and his knife out of his hand. So now Ozzy doesn't have any weapons. The chef starts swiping at Ozzy and he's like jumping back with them, swiping at him with the machete. They start to fist fight. There's some fisticuffs. So we get this like kind of shit happening. We get another blue shirt comes up from behind Ozzy and grabs him. And then the chef, Kate goes to take a big swipe at Ozzy with his killing blows machete, but Ozzy flips his feet up and flips backwards, and the chef accidentally disembowels disembowels the blue shirt that was previously holding Ozzy, and his gizzards fall out on the ground.
He kicks him off the balcony.
Kicks him off the balcony.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So the chef lunges at Ozzy, and he kind of ducks down and flips the guy over. And this is hilarious. This dummy just gets thrown off the back, and it hits the ground so hard. It's just like this weighted big fat like meat bag goes onto the ground. I'm like, that's great. Like the dummies in this movie really have some oomph to them. Like,
yeah, they spared no expense, clearly.
Yeah, and they're just so comical. Like how he just knows what's funny. Like the idea of like that looks stupid.
He does, and that's what I love so much about this film.
Yeah, the comic, everything has a comedy aspect to it. Like how the dummies fall, how it's delivered, every line how it's delivered, everything that happens. Like there's like people stepping in dog shit. There's birds shitting in people's faces. Like,
this is everything I want it to be. So Derek rocks up at the house, and as he rocks up, you can hear just gunfire. He's shot at, and he starts to do that.
A wayward bullet just shoots his top hat off. And of course, we see his skull flap at the back of his head, and he falls on the ground and starts having one of his seizures. And when it opens up, it's like...
Yeah, because he was doing that standard, you know, in the westerns, where they like dance and they shoot at the feet and they do the dance, like to avoid the bullets.
Oh man!
So one of the blue shirts has got
the collector
captive. Ozzy immediately just turns around and shoots him in the head. But as he turns, he is being held at gunpoint by another
blue shirt.
Because there's so much gunpoint. It's just immediately all this gunpoint. But thank God for Frank, he's shoots him.
Yep.
From down below.
Yep.
He saves the day. Thanks,
so
Frank.
You got to admit that's some good editing and storytelling. Like, you know, he knows exactly where everything's happening, Peter Jackson, at all times in this film. There's some complicated scenes happening.
See, he knew. I didn't. I lost it. Yeah, I'm like, well, something's happening.
Then we cut back to Derek.
Yep.
Derek's still having the seizure on the ground, but he's still managed somehow to pull his belt off of his trousers.
Yep.
His strides. And he's wrapped the belt around his head so his skull flap doesn't open again.
I had a belt around my head, which was the style at the time.
He looks up to see if any brain's fallen out, and he looks around, he can't see any, but then he looks, and suddenly under his shoe, he finds that he has trodden on a bit of his brain, crushing it, making it unusable to put back in his head.
Yep.
He picks it up, it's all dirt and rocks, and it's mushed out.
Yeah. It's gross.
So now he's missing some brain. So he's going crazier and crazier.
Yeah.
So he's getting simplified.
That's right.
Cut back to the boys.
The boys.
They're all together now?
Yep.
Or whoever, yep.
Yeah, they're sort of together now. They're trying to make their escape, and they're trying to decide, like, okay, well, which way are we going to go? Are we going to go that way, that way, or that way?
Someone starts shooting at them.
Yep.
And they look around, and the shot, if you can imagine it, there is just a field of nothing. And in the one shot right in the middle is just a tiny barrel.
Just a barrel.
A 45-gallon drum. And it's just like, well, it's obvious where they're hiding. Yeah. So they just unload all of their guns into this one barrel, and then just one dude just falls out dead from behind
and I
it.
like that as well, because it's like, bam, 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 bam. Pause for a second.
Just another little joke they just wanted to put in there. Like,
that's right, and I'm okay with it. We cut back to Derek. He's still on his way, and as he's driving. So as he's driving, there is a blue collar that is there, and
where's he going now? Because he was at the house.
Yeah, I think he's going back to where, I don't know.
I
don't think Derek knows what he's doing.
Oh, I know what he's doing. He's going to get more weapons.
That's right.
Or something.
He's doing a thing.
Yeah, he's going to find the car to get some weapons.
Right.
So yeah, he's driving along and he sees a blue shirt on the inside in the road, and he's like, and he runs him over. And you explain this. It's a really cool one.
This looks really cool. So he kind of hits the guy, but the guy immediately...
Like it's a dummy standing there at first, but the instant he hits, it kind of splits in two and turns into... I think this is an amputee.
Yes.
So they used him in Brain Dead as well.
Yeah, so he's already kind of situated on the car, so it's this very sort of... blink and you miss it moment where he goes like flying off, and he's, you know, it's like the kid from that commercial.
This is an amputee. He doesn't have the whole lower half of his body.
That's right.
I don't think he doesn't have any groin. He doesn't have any hips. He is actually.
He is a torso.
He is a torso in real life, and they've used him in. I think he gets lots of horror zombie movie roles where he's like the top torso.
Yeah. and his head goes this way and his legs go that way.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
But like, there's like an intestine as well.
Oh, there is so much blood for this. So, like, the intestines are everywhere. There's, like, blood everywhere. And then he's just, like, just sort of laying there on the ground. Like,
Yeah, so
kind of
Derek-
like scoop up his innards.
Derek, I think he does the windscreen wipers
Yeah.
to get the blood off the car. He gets out of the car because this is where he wanted to go.
Yeah.
He gets out of the car and you can see this guy. He's on the ground. He's in half. He's just playing with his his intestines. And then we see what happens next. He runs him over the bullshit. He gets ripped in half. Then Derek runs over to the Ford. What is it called? The Ford Mustang. He opens the car.
That's right. Sorry.
And he gets out of the car a chainsaw.
Yeah. So I apologize. I got lost on this. He punches a key code. Which opens a box, and
This is not the box that Aussie liked from before.
No.
It's a different one.
No, and he starts absolutely literally drooling over this magnificent giant chainsaw that he pulls out of the car.
Which is in like a velvet, box, in like velvet lined box. So this is
It's like this is the equivalent to a sex toy that he's just got floating around.
So now I was like, yes, chainsaw.
Chainsaw.
Yeah, you have to bring a chainsaw in it.
So he comes. So while the blue collar, he's there. He's trying to figure out what he's doing. Derek's walking over and he just starts like lobbing pine cones.
No, the best thing is Derek walks past the guy who's in half and just kicks him over. Like so rudely, like just kicks him, and then the guy's on the ground in half, and he grabs a pine cone,
just starts throwing.
He ditches a pine cone at Derek, hits him in the face, but then then Derek kicks him over, and then he grabs another pine cone and just lobs it backwards and still hits Derek in the head because Derek's not even interested in him.
No, he's done. Like what am I going to do?
So he hits him in the face twice with the pine cone. Pine cone. Then we cut back to the boys.
Yeah.
More shootings happening.
Still shooting out. They've run for cover.
Lord Crumb is now part of the shooting.
Yeah, he's come out. Shit's serious because he's now out and ready to fire guns. It's fine. They're asking, where's Barry? Where's Barry gone? So the leader goes to shoot from the bushes again. Like, he's obviously hidden in the bushes and he goes to shoot, but the gun is empty.
Yeah.
Shit. He is immediately fired upon. But don't worry. You got this, leader, because there are more blue collars on the way. Like, heaps more on the way. They'll come like running in. And then, Barry he kind of takes them all out.
But then, like, Lord Crumb does get some ammo and Frank and Lord Crumb shoot at each other for a bit.
Yeah. But I like that Barry's just come out because all these guys come running and Barry's just like, pew, 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 like a motherfucking boss.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, Frank runs around the corner of the house. He dives onto the ground, turns around with his machine gun, and as like all the blue shirts that have just been called in come around the corner, he just shoots them all one by one as they come around the corner and they're just all dead.
Yeah, it's great. It's fine.
So
He's
funny joke.
Done it. At one point as well, I think Barry machetes someone in the head.
Yeah. No, Frank picks up a machete and rams it into the blue shirt's face.
Right.
It's just random acts of violence at this stage. There's no reason for a lot of it.
No, there is no reason, but I'm not going to argue it.
Robert rocks up now and he's got a gun.
Yes.
Blue shirt Robert.
He comes out shooting and Barry throws a knife.
Yeah, it's like a machete, really.
Yeah, and it's so good.
And it's not Barry, it's Frank. Frank, because he's on the ground from before. Frank is the only one who can do anything.
Yeah.
Frank throws a knife at Robert, and the knife goes into his neck and pins him to
it's so good.
One of the pillars, the posts of the balcony.
Yeah.
And this is a direct thing from Commando as well.
Yeah, okay.
I know, that's what Arnie does it to, remember in Predator? And he goes, stick around.
Yeah.
So,
so good.
Yeah, so he sticks him in the neck. But then, like, Robert kind of, like, as he's, like, pinned to this thing by his neck, he fires his gun off accidentally, which hits Lord Crumb.
Yeah.
Which forces Lord Crumb to go into his transformation into alien mode. So we see this, like, eyes popping out, kind of like...
This looks good, too, because I like anything where the eyes start to bulge and kind of, like, pop out, like, awkwardly. It's just gross and amazing.
And because Lord Crumb's transforming, this causes all remaining blue shirts to transform as well, which is only about 6 or 7 of them. We don't know, like...
I know. Who knows?
So now that everyone has transformed into these aliens, which are like They've got giant rubbery heads. They kind of look like pigmen or something.
They do.
They've got alien hands. They have alien butts coming
They
out.
do. I like
their
the little
butts have
alien
burst
butts.
out of their pants. So they're all in like still in jeans and shirts.
Just
They all
with
like
badasses.
hunch over and walk.
Yeah,
They're
they
still-
kind of. It's very like ape-like the way they're kind of walking around as well. So yeah. So now that everyone's in alien form, there's like.
So now and all the boys have now met up.
Yeah, they're all together.
And they're like, they basically just bail.
Yeah. They all kind of bail out, and because the leader is just sort of, he's just going to go to the ship and he's going to fuck off. Like,
Yeah.
he knows when he's beat, even though.
But
you know.
the boys run, but then the leader's like, says to the blue shirt, you three, go after them.
Yeah.
And so the boys run, and they run to the muscle car.
Yes.
And they're running to the muscle car, and they have 3 aliens following them through. Now, so the boys are getting chased through the forest.
Mm-hmm.
And the boys then get into the muscle car, and they
Yes.
speed off.
Yep.
Aliens
start
You know,
shooting.
one of the aliens starts shooting at the car. Then Ozzy leans out the
He just fucking nails the dude
Ozzy
as well.
leans out the window and shoots one of the aliens. But then the car just conks out.
Yeah, it does. It just starts smoking, conks out, and I think, is it Oz that just turns
Ozzy
around?
goes, yeah, he goes, you should have bought a Holden. You should have bought a Holden, Frank.
Oh God. Yep.
That old Australian Holden Ford rivalry
that
in
rivalry.
the movie.
They bail on the car and they start to head into the bushes. Ozzy immediately sort of takes off his gear, and he kind of like, you know, he's revealed he's wearing like a red wife beater singlet. And
He basically turns into Bruce Willis.
he does, and he heads off back to the car.
Yeah. So basically, everyone, the Collector, Frank, and Barry, they keep bailing with the Collector to keep him safe.
Yep.
And then Ozzy decides to go back
Yeah.
and fuck the aliens over. He
Yeah.
can't handle leaving them.
No, so he's going back to the car. So that means he's going.
He has full access to his wooden box that he
He's
wasn't
going
allowed.
back to the box. What's in the box? So the aliens, they're starting to get close. He's sneaking around. So the aliens at this point, like, they get into the car and they're like trying to pretend to drive the car, like like when a kid gets in the car and is like playing with the
But
steering wheel.
we haven't said like Ozzy is. So then Ozzy goes to the boot of the car
Yeah.
while they're still in it.
Yeah,
'cause
he's
they're
being
idiot
very
aliens.
secret. They turn on some like they turn on the
Australian-
radio. You
Australian
get
rock
yeah,
blares. And then
he's loading up a fucking rocket launcher.
Yeah, or bazooka, I called it.
Yeah.
Rocket launcher. Yeah. So Ozzy now, in the inside of the wooden box, what he wanted was a bazooka. Mm-hmm. Oh, no, it's a rocket launcher. The ones that you put the rocket in the
Yep.
front. You know, those old school, like, fucking
Yeah.
you know, Vietnam style ones.
It looks good.
And then Ozzy, like, you know, gets a bit of, like, distance between him and the car. He turns around and he fires the rocket launcher into the car with the 2 aliens in
Yep.
it and blows it up. And this is a real explosion.
Yeah.
This is where that New Zealand, like, Film Corporation money's coming in now.
That's right. We had to dub over the sound of it, but it's fine. It's fine.
We had no explosion sound, but yeah.
But as this has exploded, like, Frank immediately kind of stops and he's just like, just weeps because it's his car and he knows what's happened.
Yeah, my car.
So Frank decides he's heading back to the car as well for some reason.
Well, Frank decides, hang on, I'm going to go help Ozzy.
Yeah.
So he tells Barry to take the Collector to safety. So now Barry and the Collector are basically out of the film.
Yeah, and they kind of like just stop for a second, and the Collector turns to Barry, and then he's like, "Hi, I'm Giles," because
Yeah, he goes-
they've not been introduced yet. And then they go running off in search of a phone.
Yeah. Then we cut to Ozzy. He has made it back to the house.
Yep.
He gets he's hiding in the bushes. He gets his bazooka out and he fires his bazooka at the alien's mansion, and he blows the corner of it out. And this is a great effect.
Yeah.
So I can only so they've made miniatures of these houses, and it always looked really real.
Yeah.
At some points I couldn't tell whether it was the miniature or the real one.
Well,
And
no, like at one point you're like,
I wonder, did they blow up the corner of a house?
Yeah.
I thought at one point, because man, Peter Jackson's
Looks
effects
so
are so
good.
good. Like, and for this is a shit looking film.
yeah. I mean, no wonder he's got his own fucking special effects company.
Yeah, so this little miniature model gets blown up, but it's done in a way that just makes it look completely real. So he's blowing a massive chunk of the house out.
Yeah.
At this point, Frank comes down and he's like, "What are you doing, Ozzy?" And then Frank and Ozzy decide that they're going to go down and storm the house, kill
Yeah.
the rest of those fucking aliens.
They're going to get the leader.
At the same time, we see Derek has rocked up at the house with his chainsaw. And Derek has fucking lost it
He
now.
is, yeah. He's suffering from Kuru. He is Kuru.
What's Kuru?
Kuru is like, it's a found in cannibals. So if you're eating brains, you can start to go insane. It's kind of like mad cow disease, I guess.
Is that real?
It is a real thing. Like
if you're eating human brain.
Yeah, well, because it's mostly found with cannibalism.
So he's basically, yeah. I think he's more gone crazy because his brain has been stepped on and jammed in.
Well, yeah, like the brain he has is not good, and the fact that the bits that have been fallen out and have been picked up and shoved into the back of his head, it's making him...
And now they're fallen out as well. And then Derek comes up, there's a door there, but instead of opening the door, he goes next to the door, starts his chainsaw up, which he said doesn't even work.
No, so the chainsaw that he has, this giant mighty chainsaw, doesn't actually work. So any scene that you see that has chainsawing action is just a smaller, not
different chainsaw. Yeah. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
And he starts cutting into the side of the house, and he cuts, and that's all we see for now.
Yeah.
He cuts. Basically, he cuts a Derek.
He cuts like a Derek-shaped hole.
So it's like a cartoon hole, though. It's exactly of what his shape with the chainsaw on it. And he just like is outside and just takes one step inside, just sliding through the hole. He's like. Then we cut to Frank and Ozzy, and they start cleaning up the remaining aliens out the front of the house, just like shooting them and stuff like that. There's more shooting.
A lot of punching, a lot of kicking. At one point, like, Ozzy's, like, got one of the aliens, like, bailed up against the wall, and he's just, like, punching it like you punch a punching bag.
There's a bit of comedy in there.
Yeah, it's fine. Meanwhile, Derek's inside, and he's sawing off limbs and kicking them about.
So this is great, this scene. We can't glaze over this one. So this is the first chainsaw attack. So Derek's inside, a guy walks in the room, and, he starts just basically... Evil Dead style, just chopping bits off. We see limbs flying through the air in slow motion. We see the head gets chopped off.
Yeah.
He then slices the torso off, and the torso falls off, and then the legs hit the ground. And then the coup de grace of this scene is he as he's walking out the room, he kicks the pair of legs in the balls as he's leaving. It's just a set of legs, but he kicks it in the balls.
Yeah, but that's what you do. You're always going for the ball.
Oh, man. And then Derek, this alien, he's just chopped up to bits.
Yeah.
He looks on the ground. You can see he's chopped, because he chops the alien through the fucking head. It looks great. And he sees the alien's brain there, and he's like, oh, hang on. I need some brain.
Yeah.
And he picks up the alien brain, opens his skull flap, and then mushes the alien brain into his head. Meanwhile... Lord Crumb is watching this, and he goes like, Jesus Christ. He can't believe what Derek's doing.
Yeah, he's like, Jesus Christ, holy shit. And then he bails on this because I don't think he's going to want to go up against Derek at all. So Frank and Oz...
Now they're in the house.
Yeah.
They've moved in the house. They're systematic, going through the house, killing aliens.
Yeah.
And these are the aliens, so they're not blue shirts anymore. They're all
they're all aliens.
Just clearly the same people dressed in the same. They're probably, I think Barrett, all the actors I saw on IMDb play the aliens as well.
Definitely. So we're getting to the point now. Frank and Oz, they look like they're in a little bit of trouble. The aliens have cornered them.
One of the aliens gets the drop on them from behind.
Yep. Fuck.
They turn around. Oh, fuck, he's got a gun up. But then all of a sudden, we hear a chainsaw. And then we see Derek is on the other side of the door that this alien's standing at, and he's put the chainsaw through the guy's chest, and then pulled the chainsaw up. So the chansaw's up his neck and through his face, and we see the face open.
It's so good.
Oh man, it's so good.
So good.
And then we see the alien fall down, and then they're like, "Oh look." Ozzy and Frank are like, oh, great, it's Derek. And then Derek looks through the hole that he's put in the door, Shining style, and he's like, bastards! And he's like, Jesus, Derek's gone ape shit. Yeah. They actually say ape shit.
Yeah.
Jesus, Derek's gone ape shit. Let's get out of here. They just bail.
So they bail out hard. Frank and Oz are outside now, but Lord Crumb, he shoots and he hits Ozzy in the leg.
Yeah. So
Frank
Ozzy's
goes
now wounded.
He is. He's wounded. He's fucked. Frank goes for the rocket launcher.
Yep.
He fires it through the door.
Yeah, so Frank gets the rocket launcher, fires it at Lord Crumb. Lord Crumb just dodges the rocket.
Yeah, because that's what you do.
Then Derek dodges the rocket, and then the rocket goes through the hole that Derek made previously of himself
and through another door and just blows up a fucking random sheep that's sitting
Yeah, there's a shot
in
of
the
a sheep.
middle
There's a
of-
shot of a sheep eating, and it looks up and goes, meh, and then it shows the sheep exploding.
It's so funny. I'm sorry, animal cruelty is horrible and we don't condone it, but fuck, that was funny.
Oh, it was amazing.
Oh my God.
There's no animal because the animals look so
No.
fake when
Yeah,
they're hurt in
they
this
are
film.
so fake.
They're like
So
made of
fake.
cardboard and shit. Like the sheep, like if you see when it blows up, there's a big bit of cloth that comes out of it.
Yeah.
a red cloth that they just filled it with red. Oh man, it's amazing.
Oh God.
Anyway, Lord Crumb kicks Derek in the balls.
Yep, kicks him so hard that he. It's kind of like when you hit the strongman mallet and the thing goes up and hits. It's like ding.
Yeah.
I can't explain that very well. He hits the roof.
Lord Crumb kicks Derek in the balls so hard that
hard.
his whole body lifts and hits his head on top of the door frame, which knocks him for 6.
Yep, and he heads off for the spaceship.
Yep, Lord Crumb goes upstairs into the cockpit of a spaceship.
Yep, it's the house.
He presses buttons. You know, suddenly the house, and then we see the house vibrating, steam starts coming out of the house. We realise the whole house is a spaceship.
Yep.
Then the amazing is, for some reason, the lawns are also part of the spaceship.
Yeah.
And they start getting pulled under the house. Like it's like carpet, fake lawn getting pulled back in. So when the spaceship lands, it puts lawns and gardens out as well.
Yeah, but also under said fake lawn is real lawn.
Yeah.
So there's just like they've landed on top of a garden and
Put in their own garden there.
That's fine.
And Ozzy and Frank are out on the lawn and they start getting pulled under into the house, through this fake lawn.
Yeah. So because Ozzy, he's been shot, he's not moving as fast as Frank, so he's starting to get pulled out. And he's, oh my God, he looks like he's not going to make it. What the hell's going to happen? Don't worry, Frank's there. He rescues him. Fucking bad boys for life. They escape, and then that's it.
We see a wide shot of the house, and we realise at this point, it is a model. Like up to this point, I didn't quite know if it was a model until now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, it is a model. The house, you can see it's like smoke's coming out from under the house. The whole house is shaking.
Yeah, we get this really funny scene as well of the leader trying to put on his seatbelt over his fat little alien belly, and he's just like really struggling. He's like, meh,
yeah, it's all like
meh.
he's got like a space chair he's sitting in. There's buttons around and tubes. So it looks very alien, dodgy alien or whatever.
Oh, very dodgy.
And we see like the house shaking. We see Derek is still in the house and he's like it's shaking. He's kind of waking up from getting kicked in the dick.
All the doors start slamming around him as well.
Yeah,
and
so
then
the windows go down. So now Derek is trapped in the house. I don't think Lord Crumb knows Derek's in there.
No, he's not aware.
We cut to like Frank and Ozzy. Frank has pulled Ozzy to safety because Ozzy's wounded. He's like, this is a weird scene. Like, you know, the whole way through, Frank is smoking cigars as well. We forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
Even under his balaclava.
Yes.
It's just like under it.
It's the little things.
And Frank pulls out one of his cigars and puts it into Ozzy's mouth, you know, as in like you hear, you know.
You did good, kid.
You did
Take
good,
a
kid.
ciggy.
And then Ozzy's like, I don't smoke.
Yeah.
He goes, oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Just takes it out again.
pulls it out.
Then we cut to
cut to the leader, and he pulls out like.
So first we cut to Derek in the spaceship, and he looks out the window, and we can see that planet Earth is now out.
It's going away.
Yeah, it's getting smaller.
He's stuck there.
Nice little. So now
the leader picks up a phone.
It just picks up an old telephone, like a dialer phone.
Dialer phone. He literally calls home, and he's like, "We did well."
But then these fucking wankers.
But the pricks tried to take us on, and he's like,
"We showed those.
Be home in 20 minutes." And the chainsaw starts.
It's like he was calling his wife.
Yeah, and the chainsaw starts rolling, and he's just like,
yeah, we hear the chainsaw.
Hold the line.
Hold the line. He
He
looks
goes
around.
off
We're
to
like,
find
where's this chainsaw sound coming? And then we see suddenly a perfect circle falls out of the roof that Derek has cut, and it donks him in the head, and he looks up, and you see Derek up the top there. Derek jumps down through the hole with the chainsaw first.
Yes.
Chainsaws down into Lord Crumb's head. Yeah, okay.
Are you going to say the line?
You can say it, but I will get... So Derek goes into Lord Crumb's head, into his body, chainsaws down, and we see him coming all the way. The chainsaw bursts out of Lord Crumb's crutch, All this guts is flying out everywhere. We see Derek's head emerging out of Lord Crumb's arsehole. All this blood's coming out. He's still standing for some reason. Derek, falls out of Lord Crumb's arsehole, covered in blood of intestines, looks at the camera and says,
I'm born again.
I'm born again. And laughs.
But you missed the line earlier on. So as he's about to jump through the hole, he's like, suck my spinning steel, shithead.
Oh, yeah.
Suck it down. Oh, so good.
And that, oh man, what an end. And that really reminded me of the end of Brain Dead with the giant mum on the roof kind of vibe with the gore. He likes to do like this ultimate like gore ending big. Like,
you got to go hard.
And like you can see like the legs on each side of him like he's getting born.
But like again, like what is your biggest qualm with all these like big final boss battles is that they are just so lame.
Yeah.
It's over in a minute. But
this
Peter Jackson, these are great. You've not left going, this is shit. So Derek walks in, he picks up the phone, and he's like...
Derek sits in the commander's chair, picks up the phone that Lord Crumb was saying. He goes, what do you say? I'm coming for you, bastards!
Yeah.
And like you can see he then puts on Lord Crumb's skin.
He puts on the suit. He just like gets all in his suit, and he's laughing maniacally. He has just lost the fucking plot.
Yeah, he's wearing Lord Crumb's flesh, laughing maniacally while sitting in the commander's chair, stroking his chainsaw.
Yeah,
about to go to another planet and kill them all.
Yeah, that's what his plan is. I'm guessing.
Then we cut. That's it for that scene.
And that's the end of that chapter.
And then we cut to Frank and Ozzy driving in the Beatles car.
Yep.
Well, the car's got the cardboard cutters of the Beatles. They pick up Barry and the Collector on the side of the road.
Yep.
And they drive off into the sunset.
Yep. We get the lovely cast title over it as that happens.
And that's the end. We get some Australian rock. And that's the fucking end of the film.
The fucking end. Oh,
okay, Jen. For someone who'd never seen this film, were you just like, am I really a horror fan?
I was so ashamed that I had not, because like at some point, usually when I watch films, even if it's been like
I've hassled you to watch this before
so many years, I'm like, yeah, I've probably seen it. At no point throughout this film was I like, yeah, no, I have seen this, I just haven't forgotten. And I was like, fuck, why has it taken me this long to see this film? This is so much just absolute stupid gory fun, which is exactly what I want out of a horror film.
Yeah, it's a horror comedy, but with the ultimate amount of gore, exactly like Brain Dead. Yeah. I actually think I think it's better than Brain Dead.
Oh, not
for the gore, but I actually think Brain Dead's story drags a bit with the whole love scene.
Yeah,
and the fact that I'm not trying to be racist or anything here, but the fact that like I love the New Zealand accent, but within Brain Dead there's also like the it's like Italian accent like as well. Like heaps of the characters are Italian. Yeah, I would just prefer like if everyone had just been New Zealand in it.
Yeah,
I mean there is a lot of good New Zealander in Brain Dead, but look, yeah, I actually find the love story I didn't like. But this has no love. Well, this is just pure fun.
Once you start adding other elements to the story, so once you start adding the romance side of things, that's a whole other thing that you've got to sort of deal with while you're dealing with this. And a lot of the time, I don't fucking care. I just want the blood and the gore and the whatnot.
Yeah, it seems like nothing was ever going to stop Peter Jackson from making films.
No.
Like, if you can do this with nothing, like, yeah, and then when you're given money, you create Brain Dead. Like, the gore in that is the best.
Peter Jackson.
And then the New Zealand humour.
Is just, well, that's the thing. New Zealand,
they
know good horror. They know good comedy.
Yeah, why? Yeah, I mean, look at, what's his name? What?
Taika?
Yeah, Taika. Like Thor Ragnarok. There's your New Zealand comedy coming out straight in it.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, Taika's humour. No, it's just New Zealand, mate.
That is New Zealand.
Look at Foot Rock Flats.
Oh,
like, Foot Rock Flats, even the movie is amazing. It's got all that same humour in it. Like,
yeah.
Hey, well, is it going to come down with snow on it? Yeah, probably. Like, just that they understand that Australian accents are funny and that New Zealand accents are funny as well.
That's exactly right. And we just have Australia as well. We have a very specific set style of humour, and it works so well because it's just so blunt.
I hadn't watched this film in 20 years.
Yeah.
I worked it out, and I found a whole new love for it again. I didn't realise how good this film was, And it's only now because we do this horror podcast, we analyze stuff so much that I can see that there's editing, like filmmaking wise, this is perfect.
Yeah.
Like for a comedy horror, like it doesn't, there are so many bigger budget films that are just so much shitter than this.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you think that this was a $25,000 film made over 4 years. Okay, so over 4 years, that's a lot. But the fact that also he didn't have a set script going into this is still a really good story.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
What did you give it?
So I've given it 3 ratings.
Oh, we did it all. We got the same.
Oh, did we?
Yeah. We triple samed rating it.
We triple tag teamed it.
Yeah.
I have given it a F, so it's definitely fun and dumb.
It is exactly that.
Exactly
like there
that.
is no
This
better
is the
F ever.
Dictionary definition of fun and dumb. I have also given it a B. This is definitely a beer and chicken wing group movie.
Yeah, man. I was always sitting there wishing that you were over and we were watching this together.
Yeah.
We were watching it exactly the same time as well.
We
Because
were.
I have a shared Google Doc where we put our notes in. I could see your notes going, and that's why I stole some of your notes. So I couldn't read all the typing.
And I have also given this a D, a big old D. This is very much a Dan film.
I reckon this is almost a J as well because it's like low budget, fucking like fun and dumb stupidity, like
definitely.
Slumber Party Massacre.
Oh my God, so good.
But yeah, I understand. I gave it all for myself a Dan special because I'm always just obsessed with this film, and this film made me want to make films. And I went to film school because of this film.
Yep.
I made a horror movie. Have you seen my actual film school horror film?
No.
Oh,
You
well.
should
You
show
will in
me.
a sec.
Yes.
Anyhow.
No.
What are we watching next week?
Okay, so I'm not.
What are you going to follow with that now? Ooh.
I'm following it with a creature feature.
Oh.
Just because I feel like sticking with some creatures. We are watching Piranha 3D.
Oh, good. I haven't seen that.
The 2010 Alexander Aja, who also directed The Hills Have Eyes. So this is his...
Oh, I thought this is an old film.
Well...
Piranha's an old film,
Piranha 1978, directed by Roger Corman. Yes. I'm going with 2010 Piranha.
Is it a remake or is it its own film?
Look, it is a
Do
remake.
they fly? Because there is one about flying piranhas.
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
No,
are-
this
imagine
is
flying
this
piranhas.
is a
Fuck that shit.
reboot, but I'm gonna say it is definitely a standalone. It's a standalone.
Now, are piranhas as ferocious as they're made out in films? I'm going to look up YouTube piranha attacks. I've never seen it. I've only ever seen them represented in film.
I'm gonna say yes with a but.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, Piranha 3D 2010.
That wasn't even on your list.
No, I know. I was thinking about it last night.
Fair enough. All right, write that in there. Piranha 3D,
Oh.
2010. I'm going to write that in there. Oh, dear.
Yeah, because you don't want to mistake it with the Piranha 3 Double D, which we don't want to watch.
Oh, maybe I do.
You
Don't.
Don't. No.
No.
So anyway, thanks guys. You've been listening to TerrorVision Horror Podcast with Dan and Jennifer. We are available on all major podcasting services and also on the YouTube. But no matter where you choose to consume us, please make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment or a review and share with all your friends. We also have an Instagram at TerrorVisionPod, which will keep you up to date on upcoming episodes, trivia and of course memes that are definitely 3 years old by now. We also have email, terrorvisionpod@gmail.com. Let us know what you want us to watch, discuss, etc. Our opening and closing music is Voidswell by Sister Wife.
And remember, until next week, may all your dreams
Be frightmares.
Ooh,
I know, I changed it.
I love it.
Bye.